Hello, Unburnt Woman. Welcome to the first in a series. Unburnt is a women's mental health initiative. What would we be talking about today? So, what is mental health? Mental health has been defined as a state of well being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities. The individual can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her society. This is the definition according to the World Health Organization. Now, what is women's mental health? Women's mental health is a state of well-being in which a woman is able to realize her own abilities. She can cope with the normal stresses of life. Now let's talk about it a minute. What are normal life stresses? What are the stresses we face in everyday life? Is there any stress you can think of that falls outside the normal stresses of life? Allow your mind to think wide, and perhaps you have any ideas. You can go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. We would like to know what you think are normal stresses versus what are not normal. All right. And then that woman can work productively and she can contribute to her society. This definition is carved by Unburnt from the WHO definition you saw in the previous slide. Now let's have a quick review from the definition we saw on the previous slide. Are you a woman? Do you know your own abilities? Can you cope with the normal stresses of life? Are you productive at work? Are you contributing to society? Now, if your answer to any of the last four questions happen to be no, don't freak out. There is always help. And that is why we're doing this after all. What then can we do? And what should we know? What should we look out for? In Unburnt, we believe in the biopsychosocial model. Don't worry, I know it feels like a very heavy word or it feels so long, but look at it closely. What do you see? Biopsychosocial model. What this means is there's a biological, there's a psychological, and there's a social interface to our mental health. When we talk about the biological aspect of our mental health, we're asking ourselves, what is happening in our biology? What is happening to us biologically? You know, we have a slang here where we say, oh, this charger is follow come. This is not follow come, right? Our biological factors are saying these are the factors that we were born with. There is nothing you did about it or anybody did about it. These are naturally occurring factors. All those factors that occur naturally are biological factors. Think of them as things that come with your package as a baby. What could that possibly be, or what could they possibly be? The first thing is gender. You were born with a particular gender type. You were either male by birth or female by birth. There was absolutely nothing you or anybody could have done about that. All right. And the gender gets to impact your mental health. You will see some things very soon. The second factor is known as genetic loading. You were born with genes. In your bloodstream, there is a bloodline. You come from a bloodline of only research can tell us, right? If we dug into your history, and your genes get to play a major factor in your experiences. when it comes to your mental health. However, that said, it is not a death sentence, okay? Just because there's genetic loading, just because a gun is loaded, doesn't mean it's going to kill someone. Something's got to push the trigger, right? You must understand your history to beat biological factors. If you understand that you're a woman and you understand based on your gender that you are female, then you understand, then we start asking questions. What are we susceptible to just because we're women? And then when we understand our genes as well, we're able to understand what we're susceptible to because of our genetic loading, and then we can thrive biologically. That said, as much as the gun is loaded, remember, it doesn't mean it's going to kill anybody. Just because this is your gender doesn't mean you're going to have XYZ. It just means you're susceptible to XYZ mental illnesses, which we'll see very soon. It does not mean you're going to have a mental illness. It just means you're susceptible, okay? The gun is loaded. It's not going to kill anybody except somebody pulls the trigger, right? Based on our biological history, we are going to create a form and share in the membership zone in a couple of days. So if you are not in the membership zone, this is a good time to get yourself into it. We will do our best to spread the link to join that in the comment section below. Now, what does your gender expose you to when it comes to mental illnesses? Remember, this is not something to be afraid of. Information, knowledge is power. All right? Knowledge empowers you. So we're going to just look at a few mental illnesses that just because you're a woman, you are susceptible to based on gender. The first are anxiety disorders. It has been shown that more women suffer anxiety disorders than their male counterparts. Panic disorders are more rampant in women, are more prevalent in women than in men. Phobia, more in women than in men. Post-traumatic stress disorder, more in women than in men. Obsessive compulsive disorder, otherwise known as OCD, more in women than in men. Major depression, more in women than in men. Now, take note. Attempted suicide. Whilst there are more women attempting suicide or self-harming and getting help, it doesn't mean that women are more likely to think of suicide than men. It just means that women are being saved from killing themselves more than men. What this implies is that the male gender completes suicide, so they're not able to be saved. He's unsavable, he's unrescuable because he has done something to kill himself, as opposed to women who would do something and then somebody will find them and then they can be saved most times, okay? Men tend to do more dangerous and harmful things, so by the time you're reaching out to a man, he's already dead, right? As opposed to a woman who would do something. So attempted suicide or self-harming is more, attempted suicide or self-harming is more in women than men.